My parents want the family to accept my sister's baby and my cheating ex-husband, but now they'll have to accept the disaster they caused by awakening my anger. 5 years ago, I cut ties with my sister. Gemma is my biological sister, but sometimes the worst betrayal comes from family. She was having an affair with my husband, and they were doing it shamelessly under my own roof. Back then, I had to travel a lot for work, so I wasn't home often. My parents live in Idaho, and I moved out here for work after finishing university. Since I was already well established in a big city, my parents sent Gemma to live with me when it was time for her to start college. She's 11 years younger than me and 12 years younger than my ex-husband, so honestly, I thought he'd see her the same way I did, like a child. But clearly, I was wrong. Because one day, when I came back from a trip to surprise my husband, I caught them red-handed. Or maybe he did see her as a child, which makes it even more disgusting. But at least he's no longer my husband. I even used to give her money sometimes when she ran out of what our parents sent her. Clearly, I supported her a lot. And she didn't just bite the hand that fed her, she swallowed it and then crapped it out. So yes, it's a wound that still feels fresh and will be hard to heal. And what happened with my ex-husband was a completely different story. He was my co-worker at the first company I worked for here, and we became friends quickly because I was new in the city. He introduced me to all his friends and took me to explore new places. 6 months later, we started dating, and after 2 years, we decided to get married. I really loved him. I don't think he could say the same. So with one single blow, I lost the love of my life and my favorite family member, Gemma. It was an incredibly hard time for me, and luckily, my parents supported me then. They were very disappointed in Gemma, so they stopped talking to her for a while. But they couldn't cut her off forever, because in the end, she was still in college. She was in her 3rd year and still needed money to pay tuition, money that obviously my ex-husband couldn't give her. So after a few months, she practically begged my parents to forgive her and even tried to contact me. But I didn't answer. My parents did, and they explained the situation to me. And even though I wanted to be mad at them, I couldn't. At that point, I had already lost so much, and I didn't want to lose them too. So I just told them it was okay, even though I didn't really feel that way. After finding out that the two of them had been having an affair behind my back, I kicked my husband out of the house and filed for divorce. It took a couple of months to finalize. The sooner I could get rid of that dead weight in my life, the faster I'd be able to recover. But when it was finally over and I realized I would never see either of them again, it still hurt. You can make the decision to get divorced because you know there's no future in that relationship, but that doesn't mean it won't be painful. It's been 5 years since then, and I haven't spoken to either of them. I don't even have anything to say to them. The only people I've stayed in contact with are my parents. I haven't kept in touch with the rest of my family either, because honestly, I know they all know what happened to me, and I just can't bear the shame. I know it's not my fault, but even so, it's a heavy burden to carry. Gemma and my ex are still together. They got married 2 years ago and moved back to Idaho. I go home to visit my parents, but when I do, they don't force me to have any contact with her, and I haven't had to cross paths with her, not even once. They've told me many times that they wish things had gone differently in any other way, but that they have to accept their children as they are. Until now, that had worked, because each of us stayed on our own path, and that was it. But recently, what my parents asked of me was simply impossible and deeply insulting. Here's the situation: Gemma is pregnant. She announced it a couple of weeks ago, and recently they decided to organize a party to celebrate her pregnancy. Nothing strange so far. But it got weird when even I received an invitation in the mail. Of course, I decided not to go. I didn't even bother RSVPing to decline, because if it was some attempt to make me feel bad or rub their happiness in my face, I wasn't going to give them the pleasure of seeing it. But then my parents told me that the invitation had been their idea. They also told me they wanted me to accept the invitation and attend, for Gemma, because now she was going to be a mother and was starting a new stage of her life. So according to them, it was important that we accept the fact that we were a family, one single unit, and that we put our past differences aside. I thought enough time had passed and that now my ex was like a stranger to me, and maybe we could bury the past. My first reaction was, "What the hell is wrong with you?" This wasn't like we fought over a doll when we were kids. This was something huge. Gemma and my ex destroyed my life back then. And I will never forget or forgive any of it. To me, they're dead. And even if Jesus or Buddha came out of my sister's vagina, it wouldn't change a damn thing. So when my parents told me I should just forget everything and show up to her pregnancy announcement party, it was the most absurd thing I'd ever heard. We were on the phone when we had that conversation, and I told them straight up, they were way too old to be messing with hallucinogenic mushrooms. They made me look like a fool in front of the whole family, and that was the reason why I hadn't attended any family event in years. I knew they would be there, and I just couldn't stand the idea that they were now together after what they did to me. And in that moment, while I was trying to explain why it was completely impossible and an utterly ridiculous expectation, my parents got pretty upset. Their main argument, in defense of that brilliant idea worthy of people who don't think, was that this was going to be the first grandchild in the family, maybe even the only one, and they wanted the baby to be born into a united family. And that really hurt me. Because my struggles with infertility have been something that's added so much pain to my life over the past few years. My parents know very well that before I found out my husband was cheating on me with Gemma, we had been trying to have a baby for almost a year. But it just wasn't happening. And after the divorce over the past year, I've been trying to get pregnant through IVF with anonymous donors. I've gone through 3 rounds, all of them unsuccessful. It's been incredibly frustrating, because the doctors have no idea what's causing it. And it's crushed me, because I truly want a child. I've always wanted one. And even though I don't have a husband anymore, that was never going to stop me from chasing that dream. I know I'd be a good mother. And the fact that I can't have that, it breaks me. This whole situation just makes everything worse. It makes me feel like Gemma ended up with everything that should have been mine. I know it's not rational, but it's impossible not to resent her right now. And then that comment from my parents, that because Gemma is giving them their first grandchild, I should just let everything go and show up, even if just to pretend I'd forgiven them and keep the family peace, that hit me hard. It hurt. A lot. So I decided to end the call almost immediately. I was angry. And after that, I blocked them. Because right now, I don't want anything to do with them. I'm not saying it'll be forever, but I don't want to keep hearing their pleas. But since that didn't make me feel as good as I thought it would, I decided to reach out to my ex. Years after everything that happened, I finally unblocked him on social media. I wasn't even sure I still had his number, and I sent him a message. I told him I hoped he was happy now, after ruining my life, and that he and Gemma ended up with everything that was supposed to be mine. And that everyone around them celebrated it like it was actually something to be proud of. I told him I hated both of them, and that I hoped they would feel every bit of the misery I've felt for the past 5 years. And then, without thinking much, I hit send. Now I regret it. Because they're about to have a baby. And no matter what's happened, I don't want to be the kind of person who wishes harm on a baby. Let's be real, the baby didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to lie. I feel awful about what I said. It was completely unnecessary. After all these years, I should have let it go. Even after what my parents said, I shouldn't have dumped all my anger and frustration on him. Especially because, clearly, he doesn't care. It wasn't worth it. But more than anything, I hate the thought that what I said might make it sound like I wished harm on the baby. And there's no way to take that back. So now I feel horribly guilty about it, and I feel like I should apologize. It's been 48 hours since I sent the message. I know he saw it, but of course, he hasn't responded. So technically, I still have a chance to fix it. I could apologize. But I don't know if I should. After everything that happened, wouldn't it be weird to apologize to him? Hi. Am I the asshole for telling my ex-husband and my sister that I hoped they would be miserable, even though they're expecting a baby? Edit. I didn't mention this in the original post because I didn't think it was relevant, but now I understand why some people feel I should have said it. So just to make it clear, my sister was 18 when she left home. Legally, she was already an adult. I was 29 at the time and my husband was 32. I believe when the affair started, she must have been around 19. So yes, the whole thing was extremely disturbing. But unfortunately, it wasn't illegal. If it had been, I would have reported him in a heartbeat. But she wasn't underage, so there wasn't much I could do about it. Now she's almost 25, since she was 20 when I found out. And my ex is nearly 40. So now, nobody thinks their relationship is weird or gross anymore. But let's not forget how it started. Update 1. Hi. Thank you so much for all the comments and advice. I've read every single one. Some people recommended therapy, and I've seen those comments. I won't lie, I could definitely benefit from it. Others said my resentment toward them is completely justified, given everything they did. And honestly, I agree with both things. But living with resentment, that's one of the worst things that can happen to you. It's like being trapped in a prison built by your own thoughts, one that doesn't let you move forward with your life. And that's why I believe therapy might be the best thing I can do for myself right now. Anyway, on to the update. 3 days after I sent that message, I decided not to apologize. Because deep down, I know I meant every word. Saying I want them to be miserable isn't going to make them miserable, of course, but I also know, without a doubt, that I don't wish anything bad on the baby. But still, I don't feel like I owe them an apology. Not after all this. The message has been sent. I can't unsend it. All I can do now is hope for the best and pray they don't take it any further. I sent it in a moment of rage. That's something they should understand. And if they talk to my parents about it, they'll know exactly why I sent it, because I sent it the same day I had that final argument with them. And even if they misunderstand it, even if they end up thinking I was just being mean for no reason, it doesn't really make a difference anymore. I don't care what they think of me. I don't care about them anymore. I think I'm finally done with all of this. For the past 5 years, I've gone out of my way not to contact them. I've kept every negative thought to myself, never said anything hurtful. But maybe, just maybe, this was what I needed to finally get it out of my system. So honestly, and I know this might sound harsh, I actually feel a lot better after sending that message. I know he read it. And I'm sure Gemma saw it too. Now they know I hate them. It wasn't exactly a secret before, but now? Now there's no denying it. And maybe that's what I really needed. I think I just needed to be a little cruel, just once, to finally get it all out. Now that it's done, I don't even understand why I was so upset in the first place. I feel lighter. Like I'm no longer holding back. And despite everything they did to me, I stayed dignified for 5 whole years. Until they tried to drag me back into their lives, and that's when I finally snapped. I think that's valid. I think it's justified. Update 2. To put things into perspective, it's been a week since I last posted here. As I said before, I didn't apologize to my ex. And I honestly thought that by now, everyone would be furious over what I wrote in that message. I assumed my ex must have shown the message to Gemma, and that she would have told my parents. And even though I still had them blocked, I figured they'd be finding ways to contact me, demanding that I apologize. That seemed like the logical outcome. I had already mentally prepared myself for it. But I wasn't prepared for what's actually happening. This has completely caught me off guard, because I never imagined my ex-husband would try to contact me again, and even less in the way that he did. I blocked him again a few days ago to finally close this chapter and go back to my life. But for the past 2 days, he's been trying to message me from a different number. I was going to block that one too, but honestly, curiosity got the better of me. I really wanted to know what he had to say. So far, though, he hasn't said anything meaningful. He's just been sending messages saying he needs to talk to me. That he read my message and he thinks we should talk on the phone or even meet in person to sort things out. I have no idea what he's thinking, because clearly, there's nothing left to sort out between us. We have absolutely nothing to do with each other anymore. So I don't understand why he's doing this. Right now, I'm in a really strange position. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what he's trying to do. And what's more, I've started to suspect that maybe he hasn't said anything to Gemma or my parents about the message, because everything's been oddly quiet on their side. Since nothing has happened yet, I'm starting to think he kept it all to himself. Which, if you ask me, makes it even weirder. Honestly, I don't know what to say right now. If anyone has advice, please let me know. I wouldn't say I'm panicking, but I know for sure something strange is going on. Update 3. So, 4 days ago I posted here about my ex-husband's strange behavior. I was curious for a while, but after reading all your comments, and talking to a couple of friends, I did what many of you told me to do, I blocked him. Honestly, I had already been planning to do it. My friends told me this wasn't a good sign. That instead of letting my curiosity take over, I needed to cut this problem off at the root. So, 2 days ago, I blocked him. And I told myself that it was finally time to move on with my life and leave all this behind. I can live with curiosity. But this morning, I got the biggest shock I've had in the last 5 years. Maybe even more shocking than when I discovered Gemma and my ex were having an affair. My ex-husband showed up at my front door this morning. And I literally had no idea what to say or do. Talk about surprises, this is one I wouldn't have expected in a million years. I was even more stunned because I opened the door, and there he was, standing there. If I had hung a terrifying clown doll on my door that dropped down right when I opened it, that would have surprised me less. And I think my reaction shocked him too. For those wondering how he found me, it's simple. I never moved out of the house we used to live in. Honestly, despite all the memories, it's a good neighborhood and a convenient place to live since it's close to my office. After I opened the door, he didn't even say anything. He just hugged me and started crying. And that made everything even weirder, because it was nothing like what I expected. I didn't hug him back. I was in full "what the hell is happening" mode. I felt like I was still asleep and hadn't woken up yet. Was this a dream? A nightmare? I couldn't even process what was happening until he let go of me, walked into the house, and sat on the couch, like he still lived there. That snapped me out of my trance, and I told him to leave. But of course, he had traveled a long way, and he needed to talk, and blah blah blah, the usual. He said he was there because he wanted to make amends for everything that happened. That he was really disappointed in himself, and that he had been for the last 5 years. He said he'd tried to make peace with the fact that I was gone, that he ruined everything, and that I would never come back, and that he'd just have to stay with Gemma. But apparently, he was never able to truly accept that. He told me that for 5 years, he had tried to convince himself that Gemma was the one for him, but clearly, she isn't. And now that they're expecting a baby, he's even more shaken up than usual. And when he got my message, he suddenly knew that our love story was meant to be. He said he didn't just come to talk, he came to try to convince me to give our marriage a second chance. I found it beyond bizarre. Because that message I sent wasn't remotely something that would make someone want to win me back. I literally told him he was garbage. That I would never forgive him. That I hoped he would be miserable. But he apparently read it as, "I love you. I can't live without you. Fly to my city, beg for forgiveness, and I'll take you back, while you're expecting a baby with my sister." And trust me, I reread the message, just in case I had been in some kind of trance when I wrote it and accidentally sent something else. But no. It said exactly what I remembered, that I hated him and wished him the warmest seat in hell. So, the fact that he showed up at my door thinking this would actually work? It's completely absurd. I understood pretty quickly what was really going on. He was scared. Scared of the baby. Even at 40 years old, he just wasn't ready. Some people aren't meant for marriage. Or fatherhood. And in his case? Fidelity. And that's fine, unless you decide to commit anyway, without being sure, and end up ruining other people's lives. Which is exactly what he did to me. And now, he's on track to do the same to Gemma. Not that I care about Gemma's life, but I want to highlight the pattern here. It's not just a pattern of non-commitment, it's a pattern of deceit that goes way beyond normal. Honestly, I'm not even surprised. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Anyway, after I let him talk, I told him there was no way in hell I'd ever give him another chance. I wasn't going to take back my sister's used underwear. If my sister liked mine, that's her kink, I'm not here to indulge his. I told him that now that I'd heard what he came to say, I had no interest in hearing anything else. That he needed to leave, immediately. That there was zero chance we were ever getting back together. And that showing up here like this was the biggest mistake of his life if he actually thought I'd welcome him back just like that. Because now, I was definitely going to tell my parents. And they would tell Gemma, no doubt. He would have to face the consequences. I thought he'd beg me not to do it, but he didn't. He just said he did what he thought was right, and that in the past 5 years, he'd tried to move on without success. So he figured it was worth trying one more time. And if I had decided not to take him back, then I must have had my reasons. Of course I had reasons. My number one rule when dating a man? He shouldn't have slept with my 19-year-old sister. But he said he respected my reasons and would leave. Before going, he told me he would always wait for me, which, in my opinion, is total crap. Just like he waited for me years ago while I was away on work trips, not to sleep with my sister. Yeah. Sure. Totally believable. But anyway, that's what he said. I'm just repeating it. And then he told me I could tell whoever I wanted what had happened. That I'd be doing him a favor. All of it felt inexplicably strange, unless this was his way of getting me to end things with my sister for him. In any case, I knew I had to tell my parents. But I didn't want to do it without proof. So I asked if he was okay with me recording what he said, and he agreed. I also decided to send them the security camera footage that showed him entering and leaving my house. Then I wrote a message explaining everything that happened, everything he said, and I attached the audio recording. And I made it very clear that nothing happened between us. Because I knew that would be the first thing they'd assume. I made it clear that we didn't do anything. That I wasn't trying to get him in trouble on purpose, I was just being honest. After that, it would be up to them whether to believe me or not. But at the end of the day, I just did what I felt was right. So, now we'll see what happens, now that everything's out there. Update 4. Well, it's been a few days since I told my parents everything. I don't know exactly what they believe, but I know for a fact that Gemma and my ex are in the process of getting divorced. I can't say I didn't see it coming. Honestly, I pretty much knew this was going to happen the moment I sent all that to my parents. But I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. I thought maybe Gemma would give him a chance, since she's pregnant, and that they would probably try therapy or something like that. But I guess they must have already been having issues. Or maybe she thinks something did happen that day when he came to see me. And yeah, I know this is what my ex wanted, for me to do the dirty work for him. Maybe he didn't actually want me to tell them, and that's why he said I could, hoping I wouldn't fall for the bait. Either way, the right thing to do was to tell the truth, and that's exactly what I did. Regardless of what they truly believe, I know they're getting divorced. I'm still not in contact with the rest of my family, so honestly, it was my parents who told me. They thanked me a couple of days after I sent everything. They said that thanks to all the proof against my ex, Gemma had filed for divorce. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't really mean thank you. They were probably being sarcastic. But whatever. I believe I've done my part. Whatever happens next, that's their problem now. It's sad how everything turned out for all of them. My ex literally destroyed an entire family simply because he couldn't decide what he wanted in life. And that's pathetic. But that's fine. Because I know karma always comes back around. And I know that's exactly what's happening to all of them now. Update 5. Let's just say I've had a few crazy months. Maybe more than just a few. This entire time has been a roller coaster. Some things have been good, others, not so much. But here's how things are going now. First of all, I've been going to therapy. And it has helped me tremendously. I found an amazing therapist who's helped me more than I could have imagined. I even started feeling motivated to consider IVF again. I haven't gone through with another round just yet, but she believes that all the stress I've been carrying, all the unresolved trauma I never worked through, might have worked against me. So her help isn't just helping me feel better emotionally, it might actually help me try again physically. But now comes the part one wasn't expecting at all. Turns out, there were things I didn't know about my ex-husband and my sister's relationship. One of those things is that my ex suspected that the baby might not be his. So once the baby was born, he demanded a paternity test. The result came back, he is the father. So now, he has to take financial responsibility, child support and all. But just the fact that he asked for the test? That alone sent Gemma into a full-blown nervous breakdown. She ended up confessing that she had cheated on him. Her excuse? She was young, and she didn't feel a deep connection with my ex-husband. Update 6. So yeah, the supposed lover? The guy Gemma cheated with? He's close to her age. My parents found out about it and called me, because I hadn't blocked them again yet, and they wanted to complain about her. They said they couldn't believe she had cheated again, that they never should have forgiven her in the first place, that they were deeply disappointed, and a bunch of things like that. At one point, it almost felt like they were defending my ex, like he was some kind of victim. But the most important thing? They seemed more angry about the fact that Gemma isn't speaking to them than about what she actually did. Apparently, she blames them. She says that their intervention at the beginning of this story, when they encouraged me to go to her pregnancy party, is what led my ex to try and reconnect with me, which in turn destroyed their marriage. All of this, while she was cheating on him and didn't even know whether the baby was his or not. So here's where we stand. My parents and Gemma aren't speaking. My parents have no relationship with their grandchild. My sister is alone with a newborn, going through a divorce, getting child support that isn't enough, and looking for work. And my ex is stuck paying for a child that is his, but to a wife who cheated on him. Luckily for me, they've all finally left me alone. After I spent a Sunday afternoon blocking every last possible way they could reach me, I've had peace. Edit, fourth time's the charm, right? I know that's not how the saying goes. But still. I'm pregnant. And I'm genuinely happy that my life finally feels like it's in color again. That there's hope. That something good is growing from all this wreckage. And let me be clear, my parents will not know about this baby. There won't be any public posts. No birth announcements. No baby photos with my name attached. Nothing. I don't want them to try to rebuild our relationship just because I'm having a second grandchild. They already lost that chance, and I'm making sure they never get it back.